Hi and welcome. What is pain? What is the true nature of pain in your physical body? And I'm talking about the layers upon layers upon layers beneath the scientific, physical, fleshed out manifestation of feeling pain in your body. Whether it be a headache, period pain, chronic pain, systemic pain, bone pain. Pain has vibrational, emotional, perceptual roots. And for those of us who live with pain, who have chronic pain on a daily basis or a regular basis, this is where the true work has to lie. And by no means is this an easy task, especially when you're awake and you're conscious and you're living your highest conscious life. But what I have found in my own experience is my pain and the pain I see in others is often something from that happened in the past, something that happened many years ago. Especially if you've had years of pain, you can bet your bottom dollar, you go back into your past, there is some event, some experience that triggered that pain. So its roots are in trauma. Now, when I say trauma, many people see horrific things happening. And for some of us, that's the case. Something horrific did happen that triggered the trauma. But your idea of trauma can be very different to the next person. So, from a 5-year-old's perspective, trauma could be having a bad fall. It could be some event with its mother berating him or giving out to him or making him feel less than. It doesn't have to be, from an adult perspective, some big catastrophic event, okay? Trauma is traumatic from the perception of the soul and the body and the human who's having that experience at the time. So what I find is with clients, when we actually, in a meditative state, go into the trauma to revisit, to release it, there can be this embarrassment or a feeling of insecurity or feeling vulnerable that, oh, this is embarrassing that this could be the root of my trauma, because this, from an adult perspective, doesn't seem like a big deal. Or to someone else's perspective, this doesn't seem like something that should have had such a chronic impact on my blueprint, on my auric field, on my physical body. But that doesn't matter. You have to find a way of detaching judgments about your trauma and your pain. That's the first step. You've got to release those judgments and criticisms of whether this experience was worthy or not of causing you to develop this pattern of pain in your life. Whether it be emotional pain, depression is pain, anxiety is pain, period pain is pain. So it doesn't matter what the roots were. The point is that you are aware that this event caused a flip in your switch, in your blueprint, that caused your body to think that in order to survive, it had to embody this pain, hold this pain, and attach to this pain. And when there's attachment involved, there's always a story. There's always an event, an experience, an emotional reaction to something. So it is wonderful if you can trace back to that actual experience. I actually was able to do that very clearly, and it was with the help of a really good kinesiologist in Greystones who she actually helped me using kinesiology, muscle testing, go back to the date of the origin of this trauma that kick-started my Crohn's symptoms. And of course, when she went to that date, I immediately knew that's the beginning. And then there was another date, 2 traumas within, 2 years of each other. So I know that's the root, and that's very helpful because I can soothe myself in saying this pain is not relevant anymore. It doesn't match my safe, comfortable, happy, inspiring life that I'm living. And I can soothe myself with that, and I can talk to the pain, and I can talk to my body, and I can self-soothe in that way. And even psychologically, it's just nice. It's kind of, from a psychological point of view, we like to have tidy beginnings and endings with things. That's very human of us. However, for many of you, that will not be the case. For many of you, you will have no clue where this pain originated from, where the trauma began, what started this pattern. So what I want you to know is, as an energy therapist, you don't actually have to know the exact event. It's helpful. It can be cathartic in many ways, but it's not necessary to shift the pattern. It's not even required. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So what is required is that you're willing to look at your concepts, your story around that pain. If it's a physical pain and you can't connect any kind of conceptual, perceptual story with it, ask yourself, what are the emotional triggers attached to the pain? So for instance, for some people, when they get angry, that's when they'll get a trigger for their pain. So then you must explore the anger. And again, you don't need to know the story, but you must be willing to go into the anger just on a feeling level, on an emotional level, so that you can actually, become friends with that anger, because there's a message in that for you, and that needs to be explored. And you can do that with an energy therapist like myself. That's important. So for me, it's feeling pressured, too busy, working too much, stressed. That for me, I know, is a trigger for a flare-up. So how can I manage that in my life? Then I have information. I can actually manage my stress levels as best I can by self-care, meditation, going for a run, getting enough sleep, making sure I don't stay up late, that I'm eating the right foods, that kind of thing. This is how we unravel the knot of pain that's in our energy, because the body has circuits, it has meridians, it has little vortexes of energy in it. And when we're in pain, it's always because these circuits in certain areas, certain parts of the body, like the chakra system, have closed down. So anything you can do to keep your circuits open and flowing, keep the energy flowing, is going to help you to prevent those pain patterns. Your job, it's your responsibility in your body to get to know what those patterns are, to get to know your triggers. So that may mean keeping a journal. It may mean being really aware when you do go into pain. Okay, what was I feeling when this pain was triggered? When I felt this pain kick into my body? Who was I with? This is all really important. Your relationships, who's around you, your environment. For some people, living in a smoggy, claustrophobic city can trigger all kinds of illnesses. And then they move out to another environment, somewhere out in the countryside, by the woods, up a mountaintop where the air is clean and fresh, by the sea. And miraculously, the illness disappears. So that was information that their body was telling them. We don't benefit by living in this polluted environment. You know, we don't like being around hundreds of people stressfully in the rat race, running by each other every day on the trains and buses. We need to slow down. We need to be in nature. We need higher vibrational environment, higher vibrational foods. So again, just because you live in a culture or an environment, or even a family structure that is pushing away on you to be, but you're not feeling well, you have to explore that. I never felt comfortable eating meat as a child. I didn't like eating dead animals. I didn't like the taste. I didn't like how it felt. And it really took until I, 11, 12, when I started to think about vegetarianism and then veganism, or even pescatarian, where like just take out the dead animals. That was a big shift for me, because it was me taking control of the energy I put into my body. It was me saying, well, just because everybody else in Ireland is eating meat doesn't mean I have to. It just doesn't sit well in my consciousness, in my body. So these are things we have to take responsibility for in our healing journey. And it's multi-layered because it's all different areas of our life. It's multifaceted. It can take years to unravel that knot, but it doesn't have to. I have seen amazing, I would say pretty quick remissions and people finding health again and having pain relief. Maybe not necessarily overnight, although that, we all know that happens. We see it, we read stories about it, okay? It does happen. But usually there's work involved. And I remember I worked in an art gallery with this lovely lady, and she told me that she had been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and that it was a miracle that she was alive. And she said, Aoibhín, I did 3 things. And she said, I knew when I got the cancer diagnosis that they were things that had to be taken care of, because I had been putting it off, and I had been denying myself, and I had been just procrastinating with putting myself first. And she said the cancer was like the final straw of her aura, of her soul, of her body saying, enough is enough. What do we need to change here? Sickness really can be, and usually is, an extreme wake-up call to make drastic changes, because over time, you've let those resentments, those issues build up in your energy field until they moved through the layers of the energy field and then manifested in the physical body. And what I recall is that she said I had to take Essiac, which is some herbal formula. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it's meant to be a very, very old herbal formula that people use. She had to leave her husband, who was, emotionally and mentally abusing her, and she was very unhappy in that marriage and just felt completely undervalued, unappreciated. And I think the other one was to move to a different part of the country or something. It was some drastic other environmental change. And these were 3 things she felt were hard to do and hard to take, but her soul was loud and clear. She did those things and she had a full recovery. So what's important is that we receive the information from the pain, because it's a message. It's telling us that there's something that we need to give attention to. Often what goes hand in hand with pain also is the inner child, and being willing to listen to your inner child and what your inner child needs. Now, speaking of trauma, a lot of illnesses can also be a build-up of tiny little things for a long, long time. It can be over the past 20, 30 years, there's a build-up of agitation, resentment, getting angry over little things, or things that in a broader perspective are probably not worth getting angry about. It can be just resistance in your own beliefs about how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself, and how you see your life. Maybe you stayed too long in a job that made you absolutely miserable. And the only way to get out of that was your body to develop some really, really tough going illness that literally took you off your feet so you couldn't go back into that job. Like, this is how the body-mind connection works. Our bodies and minds, our consciousness, our body is always talking. There's a fluid conversation going on, but most of it is very unconscious. Unless you shine the light of consciousness upon it, unless you bring your meditation into it, and you listen to your body. Listening to your body is vital. So I'll be doing more videos on pain and how it connects in with our spiritual selves and our spiritual lives and our general practical life as well. Any questions you have in the comments below, I'd love to read them. Thank you as always for being here. I send you spring blessings, love and light to you, and please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.